Marie Antoinette was born on the 2nd of November, 1755 at the Hofburg Palace in Vienna. Her parents, Francis I, Holy Roman Emperor, and Maria Theresa, Empress of Austria, named her Maria Antonia Josepha Johanna. She was the 15th child in a large family of 16 children. While her birth was welcomed, it was not particularly celebrated, as she was one of many royal siblings. In her family, she was affectionately called Madame Antoine or Antoinette. At the time of her birth, Europe was going through significant political tensions. Austria had recently regained control over most of its lost territories from the War of the Austrian Succession, except for Silesia, which remained under the rule of Frederick the Great of Prussia. To strengthen Austria's position, her parents arranged a political alliance with France by proposing that their daughter marry Louis Auguste, grandson of King Louis XV of France. Although she was only 6 months old at the time, this proposed marriage would later have a major impact on her life and the history of France. Marie Antoinette was born on All Souls' Day, a Catholic day of mourning. On the same day, a massive earthquake devastated Lisbon, Portugal, killing thousands of people. Though no one connected these events at the time, later historians saw them as a dark omen for the tragic fate that awaited her in the years to come. Marie Antoinette spent her early years in the royal court of Vienna, surrounded by luxury and strict traditions. Despite being born into one of the most powerful families in Europe, her childhood was relatively carefree. She had many siblings, but she was especially close to her sister Charlotte, who was 3 years older. Her father, Francis I, was warm and affectionate, while her mother, Empress Maria Theresa, was known for being strict and highly focused on matters of state. As a child, Marie Antoinette enjoyed music, dancing, and theater. She had the privilege of being taught by some of the most famous musicians of the time, including the renowned composer Christoph Willibald Gluck. She also met Wolfgang Mozart when they were both young, an encounter that left a lasting impression on those who witnessed it. Although she excelled in music and dance, Marie Antoinette's formal education was lacking. Her tutors found her to be inattentive and uninterested in academic subjects, such as history, literature, and politics. By the time she was 12, she could barely write properly in her own language. This became a concern when it was decided that she would marry into the French royal family. To prepare her for her future role, a new tutor, Abbé de Vermond, was assigned to her. He worked hard to improve her education, but many believed she remained unprepared for the challenges she would face as the future Queen of France. Marie Antoinette was born into the powerful Habsburg family, one of the most influential dynasties in European history. Her mother, Empress Maria Theresa, ruled over Austria, Hungary, and Bohemia, while her father, Francis I, held the title of Holy Roman Emperor. Unlike many other queens, Maria Theresa held real political power, making decisions that shaped the future of Europe. She was a strong and determined leader who focused on strengthening Austria through strategic alliances and well-planned marriages for her children. The Habsburg family followed a long-standing tradition of securing peace and expanding their influence through marriage rather than war. This strategy was summed up in their famous Latin motto, "Let others wage war, but Austria you shall marry happily." Each of Maria Theresa's children was expected to marry for political advantage, not for love. Many of her daughters were sent to foreign courts to strengthen Austria's position in European politics. Some of these marriages were difficult, as they often involved unions with rulers of questionable character or unstable personalities. For Marie Antoinette, this tradition meant that she was betrothed at a young age to Louis Auguste, the grandson of King Louis XV of France. The engagement was part of a diplomatic effort to create a stronger alliance between Austria and France, two countries that had been rivals for many years. While this marriage was meant to secure peace, it would later become one of the most controversial royal unions in history. Marie Antoinette's engagement to Louis Auguste, the future King of France, was arranged when she was just a child. The alliance between Austria and France was seen as essential to maintaining peace in Europe. Although Austria and France had been longtime rivals, Empress Maria Theresa believed that this marriage would solidify their relationship and prevent future conflicts. The formal betrothal was finalized when Marie Antoinette was 12 and Louis Auguste was 13. In April 1770, at the age of 14, Marie Antoinette left Austria for France, saying an emotional farewell to her family. Before she was officially introduced to the French royal family, she underwent a ceremonial transformation. In a symbolic gesture, she was stripped of her Austrian clothing and dressed in French garments. From that moment, she was no longer Maria Antonia of Austria, but Marie Antoinette, Dauphine of France. Her wedding to Louis Auguste took place on May 18, 1770, in a grand ceremony at the Palace of Versailles. The event was attended by thousands of nobles and dignitaries, and it was meant to be a joyous occasion. However, Marie Antoinette and her new husband had barely met before their wedding day. They were both young and inexperienced, and their personalities were very different. While she was lively and outgoing, he was shy and reserved. Their early years of marriage were filled with challenges, and their relationship would later become a source of great public scrutiny. When Marie Antoinette arrived in France in 1770, she was just 14 years old. As the new Dauphine of France, she was expected to adapt quickly to the strict traditions and customs of the royal court at Versailles. However, life at the French court was very different from what she had known in Austria. The French royal family had little privacy, and every aspect of their daily lives was closely observed by courtiers and nobles. Marie Antoinette was initially welcomed with excitement. She was young, beautiful, and charming, which made her popular among many members of the court. King Louis XV, her new grandfather-in-law, was especially fond of her. However, not everyone at Versailles approved of her. Many nobles, particularly the king's daughters, known as les tantes, viewed her with suspicion. Some believed she would use her influence to favor Austria, while others simply disliked her for her youthful energy and informal manners. One of Marie Antoinette's biggest struggles was her relationship with her husband, Louis Auguste. Unlike his wife, he was reserved and awkward in social settings. Their differences became more apparent as time passed, and their marriage remained unconsummated for several years. This led to growing criticism and gossip at court. Despite these challenges, Marie Antoinette tried to win the favor of the French people through her fashion, charm, and public appearances, setting the stage for both admiration and controversy in the years to come. Marie Antoinette's marriage to Louis Auguste, later known as King Louis XVI, was far from perfect. From the beginning, their personalities clashed. She was lively and outgoing, while he was shy and withdrawn. One of the biggest challenges in their marriage was their lack of intimacy. For several years after their wedding in 1770, their marriage remained unconsummated. This was a matter of great concern because without an heir, the future of the French monarchy was uncertain. At the royal court of Versailles, gossip spread quickly, and speculation about their private lives became a public obsession. Many questioned whether the Dauphin was incapable of producing an heir, while others blamed Marie Antoinette for failing to fulfill her role as the future Queen of France. Her mother, Empress Maria Theresa, repeatedly wrote letters urging her daughter to take the necessary steps to secure her position by persuading her husband to act. As years passed without a child, public criticism of Marie Antoinette increased. She was mocked in satirical pamphlets, and some even accused her of seeking companionship elsewhere. The situation put a strain on her reputation, and her every action was scrutinized. However, in 1777, after a visit from her brother, Emperor Joseph II, things changed. Shortly after his intervention, Marie Antoinette and Louis Auguste finally consummated their marriage, and within a year, the Dauphine was expecting her first child. As Marie Antoinette settled into life at Versailles, she developed a reputation for extravagance. She was fascinated by fashion, luxury, and entertainment, often spending enormous sums on elaborate gowns, jewelry, and grand parties. She became a trendsetter in the French court, introducing new styles that were admired but also criticized for their excessive cost. Her lavish spending earned her the nickname Madame Deficit, as many believed she was responsible for draining the country's finances. At the same time, France was facing serious economic struggles. Poor harvests, high taxes, and costly wars had placed a heavy burden on the people. While ordinary citizens struggled to afford basic necessities, Marie Antoinette's extravagant lifestyle fueled resentment. The public saw her as disconnected from their suffering, and rumors about her lavish spending spread rapidly through satirical pamphlets known as libelles. One of the most controversial aspects of her spending was the construction of Le Petit Trianon, a private estate within Versailles. She transformed the property into a rustic retreat where she and her close friends could escape the rigid etiquette of court life. This secluded lifestyle only worsened her reputation, as many believed she was out of touch with the struggles of the common people. Despite her growing unpopularity, Marie Antoinette remained influential in the royal court. However, the rising anger among the French people would soon threaten not only her status, but the monarchy itself. As France's economic problems worsened in the late 1770s and early 1780s, Marie Antoinette became more involved in political matters. While she had once been content with fashion and entertainment, she now took an active role in advising King Louis XVI. Many viewed her growing influence with suspicion, especially because she was of Austrian descent. Critics accused her of favoring Austrian interests over the needs of France, earning her the insulting nickname l'Autrichienne, meaning the Austrian woman. The country was in deep financial trouble due to costly wars, including France's support for the American Revolution. The government struggled to raise money, leading to increased taxes and widespread unrest among the people. Despite these hardships, the Queen continued to spend lavishly, further damaging her reputation. She also supported the dismissal of finance ministers who attempted to implement reforms, believing that their policies would weaken the monarchy's power. One of the biggest scandals of her life, the affair of the diamond necklace, occurred during this period. Even though Marie Antoinette had no involvement, she was blamed for trying to acquire an extravagant necklace during a time of national financial crisis. The scandal convinced many that she was reckless and selfish, solidifying her negative image in the public eye. With growing anger toward the monarchy, revolutionary ideas were spreading. The Queen and King were now seen as symbols of corruption, setting the stage for the dramatic events that would follow. By the late 1780s, France was on the verge of collapse. The country was drowning in debt, food shortages were causing widespread suffering, and the people were growing more frustrated with the monarchy. In 1789, King Louis XVI called a meeting of the Estates General, a rare gathering of representatives from the clergy, nobility, and common people to address the crisis. However, this meeting quickly turned into a movement demanding political change. As revolutionary ideas spread, Marie Antoinette became a target of public outrage. Her extravagant lifestyle and Austrian background made her an easy scapegoat for France's problems. The situation escalated in October 1789 when thousands of women from Paris marched to Versailles, demanding bread and action from the king. The angry mob stormed the palace, forcing the royal family to leave Versailles and relocate to the Tuileries Palace in Paris, where they were placed under constant surveillance. Despite the growing danger, Marie Antoinette secretly worked to restore the monarchy's power. She wrote to foreign rulers, including her family in Austria, seeking their support against the revolutionaries. In 1791, she and King Louis attempted to escape Paris in disguise, but they were captured in Varennes and returned to the capital as prisoners. With the monarchy's power fading, revolutionaries abolished it in 1792, declaring France a republic. The once powerful queen now faced an uncertain and dangerous future. By 1792, Marie Antoinette was no longer a queen, but a prisoner of the French Revolution. After the monarchy was abolished, she, King Louis XVI, and their children were imprisoned in the Temple Fortress in Paris. In January 1793, the king was put on trial for treason, found guilty, and executed by guillotine. His death left Marie Antoinette alone, with little hope of survival. In the months that followed, the queen endured harsh conditions in prison. Her health declined, and she was separated from her son, the young Dauphin, who was taken away and mistreated by revolutionary guards. In October 1793, she was put on trial. The accusations against her included treason, extravagant spending, and even false claims of immoral behavior. Despite her dignified defense, the outcome was already decided. Marie Antoinette was found guilty and sentenced to death. On October 16, 1793, she was led to the guillotine. Dressed in simple white, she faced the crowd with calm determination. Her final words were an apology to the executioner for stepping on his foot. Moments later, the blade fell and her life ended. Marie Antoinette's legacy remains controversial. Was she a symbol of royal excess or a tragic figure caught in events beyond her control? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating historical stories. Thank you very much for watching.